Okay. Wonderful. Okay, well, my name is Jessica Stevenson. I am your host today. For those of you who don't know me, I think several of you, I work with the community resources team. So my colleagues, Veronica, David, Dora. I am from Colombia, born in Brazil, English family as well, background, and I currently live in Prague. So I am a cultural confusion. But I am passionate about Africa and the Middle East, and I've traveled some of it in my former work and life. So I really enjoy any space that I can connect and learn from you and learn more about the work that you're doing. And my role within community resources is learning and evaluation. And I'm currently working with a group of community members and part of our team as well, David and Dora, in this program that's called Let's Connect. And it's about creating spaces like this one for peer learning, for sharing our knowledge between colleagues, for a very relaxed and open space to learn together. For an open and relaxed space to learn together. And I'm going to say a little bit more about this in the introduction. But first, I would like you all to use the chat just to quickly tell us who is here in this proposal writing learning session, Learning Clinic, with your name, your role and organization, if you're an organization, and the emoji that you most use, and if you can share that in the chat. And later on during the session, you will have an opportunity to speak more about your role and your work. So can everybody just quickly take a few minutes to present themselves? This includes the team members. Please share the emoji that you most use.
Hi, everyone. My name is Candy. I'm a long-term editor in Botswana. And I just put on the chat my mostly used emoji. Yeah.
Thanks, Candy. Anybody else? You can share it on the chat so we can do the introductions quickly. Nada. Wonderful. Later when we interact, you can tell us why that's your favorite emoji.
Okay, I can tell you now if you want.
Yeah, tell us now, please. Get us going whilst people right there.
Yeah, I'm an animal person. I love animals, but when I like to pretend I'm innocent, I like this emoji. It really represents the situation that I'm still young, and please don't misunderstand me. I'm still learning.
That's wonderful. I'm going to adopt that. I like the way you say pretend to be innocent, but I love that.
Yeah.
Veronica likes the prayer one. Obi is happy, the smiley face.
Yeah, and the prayer one is always confusing. It's for me, it represents thank you, like thanks.
Namaste.
Namaste.
I want to say something about the pray emoji, because I always thought it's a pray emoji, but I recently have known that it's a high five emoji, not a pray one.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
And now I can't unsee it. I just see a high five emoji. My prayers are lost now.
No, and now all of us cannot unsee it.
Yeah. I'm sorry for that. We really need a different one now.
That's great. Okay, so as we start the introduction to the session, people can add their emojis and their introduction. Sandra uses mine, the sweating one.
Yeah, in fact, I use it a lot.
Brilliant. Oh, Musa with the smiley face with the eyes.
It's okay.
Okay, so thanks for those brief introductions. For those who haven't presented themselves with their most used emoji, please do so in the chat. I'm going to start introducing then our peer learning clinic as part of Let's Connect. We're going to focus on grant proposal writing. A lot of you have said you have been rapid funds grantees or thinking about rapid funds. Some of you even are thinking about the general support fund. So we're going to talk about grant writing, proposal writing in general, but we're going to focus a lot more on those of you who are thinking about the rapid funds. As I mentioned, this is part of Let's Connect. For those of you who don't know about Let's Connect, you want to find out more and you want to register, I've linked in there our meta page. Maybe Dora can also link it in the chat, and the registration form for Let's Connect. It's an open invitation for anybody who is part of an organized group. Doesn't matter if they're formally organized or not, but they're doing their work in a collaborative manner with others in their community. And they are thinking about working with Wikimedia funds in the future, or they're currently working with Wikimedia funds. And it's a space where we're doing this. We're creating different formats. It can be this clinic, or it can be one-on-one coffees, sharing resources so that we can build our capacities collectively. But most importantly, we're creating human connections, we're having fun, we're building community, and we're also learning from mistakes, from mishaps, from confusions that we have, from worries that we have. And it's a very safe space where we can really talk about these things and learn from them. And we value that no matter how new you are, no matter how little chicken you may feel sometimes with some topics. Like me, I am very new to the Wikimedia movement. We all have something to share from our lives, from our knowledge, from our spirit, from our happiness. So we value that everybody here, we're learning from everybody. We may be listening to some people who are coming to share some of their experiences, but we're also sharing our experiences and they're learning from us. So what are the learning objectives for this session? The ideas that we can share and practice some key aspects of proposal writing so that your proposals are very clear and very coherent. And most of all, that they have a theory of change. And I'll explain what that means, and you will see it in the examples that our colleagues will share. What does it mean to have a theory of change in our proposals? And what we're going to also identify through a practical exercise is how can we collaborate with others if we're working in the same context? Maybe we can think of collaboration in our work through the proposal fund, or also proposing work together and accessing a grant as a single project. So we're going to have a space to reflect a little bit about that. And then at the end, we will see how you may need some more support or follow-up so that when you come to write your proposals, you have all the information and support that you need. So it doesn't end in this session. This is a beginning. And up until the point that you're writing your proposals and thinking about them, Veronica and the team will be here to support you and your peers. So this is the structure of the session. We're going to have two wonderful case study examples of how to develop your theory of change from the region, two great grantee partners who have developed some amazing work. Then we're going to go into groups, breakout rooms, and we're going to do an exercise to apply this to your work. I'll explain more details as we come to that point in the session, but that will be the second half of our 1.5 hour session. And then we are going to just do a brief closure. So now I would like to hand it over to my wonderful colleague, Isaac. And if you like, Isaac, I will be able to share your presentation on my screen, or you can do so directly. Just let me know.
Let's start with Ceslos.
Ceslos, okay. Ceslos, would you like me to share, or do you want to share your screen?
You may go ahead and share, that's fine.
Okay, fine. Just give me 1 second then to. Ceslos, if you like, you can start introducing yourself whilst I organize my screen. Thank you.
Sure. I was hoping to, when I saw Isaac's name first, I thought I would be okay. Need a second to present, but it's fine. I'm prepared either way. My name is Ceslos Owunaya. I am from the Igbo Wikimedia and user group. I also work communications at Wiki in Africa. And over the years, since I joined the movement, I have had some interesting experience. That's how I would sum it all up in terms of grant application. Even when I get, let's say, David's email of, oh, no, we can't fund this now. It was always interesting as David always makes our time to actually explain the reason behind most of the no's that he sends out. And that sort of formed a huge sum of knowledge for me at the long run. And I had to unlearn, of course, and relearn to know how best to submit proposals. And the brief context I would be sharing with us is the She Said campaign, which we had last year. It's a Wiki Loves Women Gender Gap initiative on Wikiquote precisely. It's about amplifying the voices of women via quotable quotes or some statements that such women may have made either in the course of their career or maybe somewhere. And then first, it aimed, the project aimed to bridge a gender gap on Wiki, especially using Wikiquote. And then it was important because there was need to amplify women's voices on Wikipedia and beyond. And then it aimed to use Wikiquote as a tool for bridging gender gap and generally amplifying women's voice. Next. So we we at Igbo Wikimedia, it was actually our first interaction with Wikiquote, especially because, I mean, we used to hear Wikiquote, but it was more or less a gray area until Tochi was chosen as part of the Wiki Loves Women Focus Group. And Wiki Loves Women Focus Group had to launch that She Said campaign for last year. So that was when we found out that we needed to, of course, bring in a local African language, because before then, it was basically, I mean, 2020 when it was launched, it was basically Italian, English, and then the French that were most pronounced amongst other, I would say, international languages. There actually was nothing about, at least a Nigerian language or a Nigerian wiki per se. So when we realized that, we decided that, oh, we actually should experiment this. And that was when Florence made it clear to us that it has to start from incubation. We said, yes, that was actually a motivation for us to say, okay, let's try this from the scratch. And it worked, I would say, looking at the end results. So first, Wikiquote needs to be presented in as many local language wiki as possible, including Igbo. So for me and Tochi, of course, we thought Igbo language was a great start. And this year we're hoping to inculcate other language communities in Nigeria that already exist on Wiki. And then She Said campaign first launched in 2020 across 7 major languages, which resulted in overall 867 new and improved articles. Majority of them, of course, they were created newly. I mean, majority of the articles, but we recall that Italian Wikiquote took the lead with 405 articles created or improved, with that of Ukraine 187 and French 106. So we felt like, why not Igbo Wikiquote? So imagine our joy when we learned, in fact, it was a mixed feeling, if I must confess. Oh, this thing actually needs to take off from incubation. But we had Florence, who helped to guide us amongst some other community members that we consulted, who, of course, educated us one or two things to learn about Wikiquote. Next, Jessica. So first, we had to activate the Igbo Wikiquote incubator, since because it was not in existence before then. Now I'm going to give us deeper insight on the strategies we actually took to achieve the level of success we did. So first was the activation of the Igbo Wikiquote incubator. Second, we knew if we want people to get involved, of course, people will require to be trained. There's need to train as many people as possible. And through what most of us are already familiar with, which is edited terms and thereabouts. And then majorly, I thought of, oh, this might be a good idea to perhaps rope in some new volunteers, which is what I learned over time. Sometimes when you're embarking on a project, it might be best, it might be a good idea to rope in new volunteers. This is because sometimes the old ones, I mean, if I do 100 editathons, it could tend to get boring over time. But the new ones are always excited to come in contact with the wiki space to learn that, oh, so I can actually be part of this very awesome free encyclopedia. So with that, I had to reach out to a number of persons on my network here in Abuja, since myself and Tochi were based here. And luckily for us, we found a PEA initiative. It's an NGO that is into women empowerment. So somehow we told them about the project and we were, oh, can you people sensitize your contacts, especially the women or the girls, about this project so that they could participate and help us put quotes that women have made on Wikiquote. So, and when we realized that we had the training in check and we had planned the sessions, we of course found out that we needed a rapid grant to do that, to execute the project itself. And that was when we realized that Tochi, who was already a grantee for our Igbo Wikimedia user group APG, couldn't, of course, stand as the grantee for this. So in respect to that, I had to step in and I stood in as a grantee, and that worked out for us. So each time that perhaps you feel stuck, please, you might as well reach out to community members to collaborate with. It could make things better for you and easier. So we planned remote follow-up sessions with participants also. And we thought about gifts, certificates, souvenir, and what have you for the participants. So why did we choose the strategies, and why did we think these strategies would be effective? First, partnering with an NGO that was into women empowerment, it was a way to actually ignite hope in a good number of women, if I would say. And it was on the course of trying to do, findings on this NGO that I found out that most of the women they are in contact with and most of the women they are working with, actually women that come from abusive environments, abusive backgrounds and all that. So these people have been pushed by circumstances to think less of themselves. So imagine them entering quotes on Wikiquote, and these quotes were made by their fellow women who walk on 2 feet, who have one head. that changed a lot of things for these women. For once, we actually got feedback like, wow, so there are actually Black women who are making waves, and people probably have not heard. And some of them, they randomly maybe hear one quote or the other, but before then, they actually didn't know that, oh, probably this quote was made by, let's say, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie or Okonjo-Iweala and what have you. So that was some sort of relief, learning that most of them were personally impacted by that partnership, just because we happened to find a mutual ground to collaborate. And then most of them, they in the past had probably heard about Wikipedia, but it was a mystery to them until that point, just like it was to most of us until we all came to make our first edit. So they were very excited to be contributing to the biggest free encyclopedia known to mankind. So we of course went ahead to make the training session as educative as possible. Personally, I like to dissuade people from visual editing. Why? Because there's no fun in that. It's boring, and it actually doesn't widen, your ability to learn more things. So I encourage source editing a lot. I mean, that way one could learn basic coding skills, at least while doing what they're doing. So it was an educative session for those of them who were able to participate. Oh, thank you, Jessica. We can arrange that, of course. And then the gifts and certificates, we actually crowned it all. People were very delighted to know that there was a reward for just participating to make entries that inspired them on Wikiquote. So this was how we worked around the strategies, and somehow our assumptions paid off, because when you see our end result. Next, Jessica. So talking about the 1 minute. Talking about the strategies and the outcomes and the long-term impact. First, we needed to get women involved. I don't know how much those of us that know about Wiki Loves Women know about the focus group. It's strictly for women. If you get invited as a male, it's a huge privilege. So somehow we wanted to keep the legacy of the focus group to basically train women, though of course some male from our community participated, but the greater number of participants were women. And then we need to train women on how to make quotes on or make entries on Wikiquote, and then partner with organizations with common goals to execute wiki projects. This was our goal, and personally, this is my goal. I am basically spending these recent times looking for people who won't mind what wiki projects actually has to offer, or wiki projects have to offer. And I've also implemented that in Wiki Love Africa this year, and it's yielding good results, I would say. And then we look at outcome. By virtue of training women to contribute to Wikipedia, we have more women who would actually have what it takes to contribute to Wikipedia, thereby solving at the long run the recommendations, or one of the recommendations that were made during the 2030 movement strategy discussion, which is about investing in skills and leadership development for everybody, most especially women. And then other outcomes, increased number of women who would learn to bridge the content gap on Wikispace. We can talk about with gender gap from today to tomorrow, but if we don't have enough people, especially women, who are actually knowledgeable on how to do this. I mean, I for one, I'm proud to tell people that our user group, Igbo Wikimedia, was started by women, and it's been run it's been run up to this point a great deal by women. It's a thing of pride for us, and most of our members are women. And if you go on Igbo Wikipedia, you would see most content there actually about women. So for us, it's a thing of pride. We pride ourselves in that, in getting the female folks involved in what we do, and of course, bringing bridging the gender gap content on Wikipedia. And then like-minded organizations would learn more about wiki projects. This is very key because as popular as we think Wikipedia is, a lot of people don't actually know what happens at Wikipedia. A lot of people don't know. So how do we get a lot of people to know and be involved? If you hijack, sorry to use the word hijack, if you're able to hijack an organization, they in turn could, reflect about what we do and pass the word around. If we have organizations who are up to date and knowledgeable about what wiki projects, are out there to make impact towards free and open knowledge, trust me, a lot of them would make donations towards this, even if they can't, bring in the manpower. They would want to be associated with this. They want to, pledge their allegiance to what Wikipedia has to offer. So the other impact long-term is having like-minded organizations who could turn to donors eventually. I actually think that at the long run, because as an NGO, PEA initiative, they have their own contacts or donors who finance the outreaches that they do and all that. And imagine them mentioning that the women they work with are actually part of Suicide Campaign, which is a wiki project. And maybe they actually need funds to play a wider role in this campaign in the future years. This could mean that we get to, of course, commit resources with them. They bring theirs, we bring ours, and all would actually work to better make impact. And lastly, I would like to mention that the United Nations SDG number 5, the gender equity goal, is focused towards achieving gender equality and empowering all women and girls. And this is what Wiki Loves Women and most of Wiki Loves Women initiative actually about. Next, Jessica. Okay, learning question.
2 minutes left, but
Okay.
this point is really important. So yeah, thanks for sharing.
No problem. No problem. So there were some key questions, of course, you asked before you know how to work out other details. These questions will help you to put your goals and strategies in view. Okay, so for us, the first was, what strategies are helpful to encourage participation? From past campaigns like WPWP, we know that prizes and gifts, no matter how small, people, the last one we had, user group, it was diary, but we marked our Igbo Wikimedia user group and all on the diaries, and people's reactions were amazing. No matter how small, it feels good to know that there is something that reminds you of your commitment, your participation in all this that we do in the wiki space. And then the other question we asked was, who could be keen to participate? So when we asked about who could be keen, we know, yes, perhaps the female folks would want to champion this more. But then for us, we didn't have the luxury of maybe having direct access to the desired participant, which was the reason for which we started looking for organizations that could give us that level of access, allies that we could partner with on getting the keen participants. And all I did in terms of how I went about that was leveraging on what I had, which was the network of people who probably work in the nonprofit within Nigeria and Abuja. And then the other question was what could promote diversified content on Wiki? For us at the Igbo Wikimedia level, we know about Wikipedia, we know about Wikimedia Commons, and before then, you probably could find a newbie amongst us who perhaps didn't know about Wikiquote, but that changed. For us, we had to make sure that they had diversified knowledge about the various contents that are available on Wiki. In fact, I hope that with time we even delve into more like Wiki Specie and the rest of them to much more notify them about the diversified contents that are available on Wiki. And then the 2020 She Said campaign on Wikiquote, it didn't feature Igbo language at all. So we actually had to change that from the 2021 campaign. And we're always looking at new initiatives to create awareness within our community. And Wikiquote was definitely new to our Igbo Wikimedians. And by the time we asked around, of course, we were sure that we needed to actually introduce much more content beyond the regular Wikipedia and Wikimedia Commons to our community. And by the time we were done, we had created 460 articles on Igbo Wikiquote Incubator, and we had edited 595 articles on Igbo Wikiquote. Next, Jessica. Hope I'm not taking Isaac's time.
It's okay.
Okay.
I think maybe it would just conclude quickly with the budget, but that was really marvelous. I think we learned so much from that. Really,
the pleasure is always mine. So let me just round off. We had to look at the key things that we needed beyond the human resources, and that's a list of our budget. You have to calculate the price for the venue and what have you. And we had about $1,710 as our budget, but I'm sure we didn't even spend all that because we have some balance left. Next, Jessica. And then the only thing else I would like to say is collaborate, both within and off Wiki community. This is key. This is key. As I'm talking to you, there are organizations outside Wiki who are looking to collaborate on projects, but they don't have the awesome ideas we that are privileged to be in the movement have. So imagine you coming up with these ideas, the way they jump at it, it's amazing. So collaborate. That's all. It makes your life easier and your project smooth.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Teslas. And I'm going to invite Isaac to present his case, and then we'll open the space, a joint space for questions and discussion. Isaac, do you want me to share?
Great. Go ahead, Jessica. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Okay, I'm sharing here. And there's also a translated version, which I am sharing here. Just 1 second. Okay, we're with you, Isaac.
Okay, thank you very much. First off, I apologize for coming very late. I misunderstood the time because of the time zone and all of that. So my sincere apologies to everyone. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone once again to this section. This is something that is very important, especially for people from underrepresented communities. I spend a considerable amount of time reviewing proposals, and I know a lot of improvement is needed for many of the proposals I've seen. So many thanks to the Wikimedia Foundation for initiating these very important sections. So I would like to highlight the fact that nobody is born, as a good proposal writing. It's a skill that you can learn over time, and practice makes perfect. So having reviewed the current questions we have, I think these two questions have actually been introduced, and it's a very important question because it helps us to understand the kind of changes you're trying to make, and the approaches or strategies you're adopting to make those changes. And that's where your theory of change comes in. So basically, your theory of change should, basically describe a particular change that is important and, include information on why you think that change is impactful. You may want to include your intrinsic motivations, perhaps like something that actually motivates you to make those changes. You can, include that on your proposal to let us, to give us a better idea of why you think it's important to support that change. So what should your theory of change articulate? Your theory of change should basically articulate the outcome. That is, what is the change you're trying to bring about? And sorry, I want to pretend it, but okay. So it should actually show the type of change you're trying to bring about, and the entry point. The entry point has to do with what do you need to do to make the change happen. And interventions. Intervention has to do with how will you make that change? What do you need? What are the resources that is needed for you to make those changes? Then when you are writing a proposal, you make a lot of assumptions. For example, you assume that your project is going to be successful if you do X, Y, Z. And sometimes it just, your project just go based on your assumptions, but sometimes it just doesn't go. But the most important thing is that you need to understand that you are going to make so much assumptions because your proposals actually, the outcome of your proposals actually depends on the kind of assumptions you are actually making. So your proposal should articulate why you think the strategies you are adopting or the approaches you are adopting will really be very impactful and will work just for your project. So again, it depends on how you frame this in your proposal. Like I said earlier, your theory of change should be very clear. For anyone reading your proposal, they should be, very clear on what kind of changes you want to make. It shouldn't be ambiguous. So that way, you may also want to include any reflections on how you arrive at this. Perhaps you conducted a survey and you feel that the result of the survey show a huge gap that needed to be fixed. So all of that has to reflect on your proposal. So when that is there, anyone, even if a program officer just read that particular section, they understand why you are making those changes. So you may also want to include any tips, such as difficulties you might have had in defining this and how you overcame all of that. So what are your proposed strategies? In 2020, we identified a huge content gap. We realized that millions of people across the world, millions of images are contributed to Wikimedia Commons annually as part of either content campaigns or as a result of the other contributions. But only a very few of these contributions, of these images are used on Wikipedia articles. But our theory of changes at the time resulted in the following: a design of an international campaign in 2022, because we understand that those are a huge content gap, and that will require a very big context or campaigns to actually fill that space, because it's not something we can actually do locally, because we're talking about millions of content here. So we had to do something that will involve the global communities, and encourage them to make that change. So, and after the campaign in 2020, we decided to evaluate the campaign to better understand whether the strategies we adopted in 2020 actually work well, and if there's there'll be opportunity for us to actually improve or change our strategies. And the evaluation report actually showed a very significant result in terms of what should be done and what should be adjusted. So this year we're adopting a new framework for the campaign in 2022. So why did you choose these strategies? Why do you think they will be effective? What are you assuming? So these are questions you need to ask yourself when you're writing your proposal. First of all, you need to review your assumptions and document them. So as you are actually thinking, oh, if I do this, I will get this result. Don't just keep that on your brain. Write them down because they form parts of the outcome of your work. So check if the strategy you are adopting have also worked for similar projects. For example, if I discovered or I believe that content relating to mortuaries are very, they're not too much, there's a huge gap in that area. I may decide to say, okay, how can I make sure we increase content about mortuaries? I can decide to say, okay, let's adopt methods that has been used in other campaigns. For example, I can use the method adopted by the Wikiloves Monument or Wikiloves Africa to actually drive people to contribute, mortuary-related content. So those are already established strategies that you can adopt. So you may not necessarily need a new strategy. So look at it if your project actually, or if it's actually similar to an existing project, so you can adopt a similar strategy. So check if you have the right team to make your strategy work. Sometimes people have, brilliant strategies, brilliant ideas, but they don't have the required skills and the necessary or the skillful team that will be needed to implement those changes or implement those strategies. So you need to actually make sure that you're working with people who understand your goals and who have the capacity to actually support your changes. So that way you can effectively implement those changes. Then you need to review your strengths and of course that of your team. You need to ask yourself if you have the relevant experience to do certain things. And if you don't have, you need to identify an individual within our movement who have that competency and willing to support in the implementation of your strategy. Then also check if you have the resources needed. Sometimes resources is not just about money. It's not just about the grant. Sometimes what you just need is someone to help you design a tools. And a lot of volunteers within our movement who are willing to help design tools to actually solve some key problems. So you may not necessarily need grant funding to do all of that. But if you think you needed grant funding, maybe, for example, you want to give prizes for some campaigns, the Rapid Grant is always there for you. So we're using the Wikipedia pages warning photos as a case study. The challenges we identified in 2020 was that images collected as part of content drive, such as Wikiloves Africa, Wikiloves Monument, Wikiloves Earth, and the rest, are not being used on Wikipedia articles. Those are the challenges we first of all identified. And little effort had been made to use those content on Wikipedia articles. Then we also realized that there are huge gap between the Wikimedia Commons and Wikipedia. A lot of people don't even know that Wikimedia Commons exists. In fact, the WPW campaign actually showed that huge gap. You will see an editor of more than 10 years, editing experience, don't even know how to properly add captions to images on Wikipedia articles. So it shows that there's a disconnection between Wikimedia Commons and Wikipedia. So we identified these challenges and we propose, these solutions. We realized that changes like that can be made if we actually run an international campaign, encouraging people from different parts of the world to add to add images to Wikipedia articles. Initially, we thought of doing that locally here in Nigeria, but we realized that it will not really make a significant changes. So we decided to make that global. Then we also trained participants on how to use images from Wikimedia Commons on Wikipedia articles. We believe this is very important because it will have an enduring impact because the knowledge will be transferred from users to users, and that will become a long-term impact on our community and the content we're actually creating. So our goals are primarily to promote the use of freely licensed media files from common Wikipedia articles, and also to increase contributions to Wikipedia project and build and engage communities. One of the things that actually motivated us was that during the pandemic, a lot of people were already worried about the impact of the pandemic, and there are fewer contributions to Wikipedia articles. So we wanted something very simple that we engage people during that time. So it formed part of our core goals at the time in 2020. So we want to increase new contributors as well, because adding images to Wikipedia is something very simple, and we believe that people will find that very interesting. So also we want to strengthen local Wikimedia communities. We realize that a lot of new communities are springing up, especially in Africa. So we want to find a strategic way to actually engage them. Next. So like I said, your strategy and your assumptions actually determines the outcome of your project. So we know that if we run an international campaign, we assume that thousands of images will be used on Wikipedia articles. That may not be the case, but it actually worked as per our assumptions at the time. So we know that if we evaluate the campaign, we will identify the best strategy for implementing the campaign, or we will identify how we improve that campaign. So we also know that if we collect and share best practices with local organizing team, so that we actually strengthen and help them to effectively implement that campaign. So those are our outcomes, when we do all of this. Then we also know that there are huge influx of content or contributions to the Wikipedias. So we needed to find a way to support the local communities so as to reduce the burden of cleanup on the volunteers communities. So we know that if we set up a maintenance team or a maintenance committee, it will help to minimize the burden on cleanup. So we also have other things that we do, like appointing a regional or language ambassador to help us facilitate this locally. In the long run, we realize that the content gaps are gradually closing because for the 2 years that we've run this campaign, images have been added to over 300,000 Wikipedia articles in more than 190 languages Wikipedia. So that's a huge amount of traffic, which means a huge amount of knowledge is being shared. So it also helps us to strengthen, the green communities, from Africa and most part of the world. So it's something that has a very huge, impact. And to save the time, our readers basically have access to rich content because it shows images and other things that help us illustrate our articles better. Let's Jessica. So like I said, our assumptions actually forms the basis of our outcomes sometimes. So all of these were our assumptions when we're designing the campaigns. And we're glad that the results the result from the campaign aligns neatly with our assumptions. So that's why I said it's very important to actually, pen down your assumptions when you are working on a project, because it helps you to shape your direction, in the end. So what are your learning questions? This usually happens when you are evaluating your campaign or your project, depending on what you're doing. So no matter how small your project is, evaluation is a key factor because it helps you to improve on that project when you're doing it next time. And it helps other people to learn what worked well and what didn't work well for you so that they can improve on their project. So for our campaign, these are learning questions that are relevant to us. We wanted to know if the campaign actually made the expectation for achieving these goals. So, and we use survey to actually get that information. And we're also interested in learning about how many people participated in the campaign. So we use the hashtag to do that. So we also want to know what worked well so that we can adjust. And one thing that just didn't work well last year is that contributions to Wikipedia pages wanting photos involves a lot of experience because they are editing live articles. So we should minimize or significantly reduce, contributions by new editors. So those are the new changes we're making this year. So what are local organizers' priority goals? We understand that people have different priorities, goals for participating in those contents. So we collected those feedback using the survey and also direct conversations with campaign leaders and the expressment of the community. Next. So how do your investment reflect your strategy? I used to tell people that they should, when you are planning a project, consider that not all project requires direct funding. Sometimes you just need the right people, the right ideas to implement your campaign. You don't, immediately you think of an idea, the funding should be the least thing you should be considering. You should look at other factors that might help your campaign. Consider that volunteers are the greatest investment your project requires to be successful. When you build your project around volunteers, it grows, faster, and you have a diverse set of people with different backgrounds that can help you grow your project. Then the right investment usually yields the most successful result. Of course, the funding are there. Sometimes all you need is just, a rapid gun and not a general support fund. So you need to identify the type of funding you need to access some of these funds. Sorry, Jessica, I'm taking too much time. So anything else? Well, nothing basically, but people may want to read our evaluation report and make inputs and further suggestions to improve our campaign. Oh, that's all. Thank you.
That's fantastic. We have very few minutes just to, if anybody wants to ask any questions or make any comments for our two wonderful presenters, you can raise your hand or you can ask in the chat. Yes, Musa, go ahead.
Good afternoon, all. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me? It's like you're not here. Are you guys with me?
Yes,
we can
Musa.
hear you, Musa.
Yes.
Speak on.
Yes, Musa.
My first question goes to Ceslos. First of all, I would like to really comment the idea of the She Say campaign. It's a very, very, very good initiative, and I would like to ask if there is any space like for collaboration, because I think it's a very good initiative that's supposed to involve everybody. So I would like to ask if there's some collaborations, as in ways of collaboration, because we also want to bring the Hausa community in the campaign, because it's a very good campaign. It's a campaign that will expose more women into the movement. So it's a very interesting campaign that we would like to be part of. So I'm asking if there is any plans for collaboration and other stuff. And my second question goes to the Isaac, for the WWP campaign. What I would like to ask is, during those campaigns, during the WWW campaign, there's a problem of overused picture in the article. Sometimes you see most of the new editors, the inexperienced editors, are overusing pictures in a particular article in order for them, maybe, I don't know, if maybe to gain to gain prizes, or maybe to maybe participate, have this feeling of participation. I don't know. So I don't know, is there any plan or anything in mind to tackle those problems? Because you see sometimes a new user will come and even spoil an article with over pictures. You see an article without much write up, but plenty pictures, just with the WPWP campaign. So I don't know if maybe they have plans on maybe reducing that, or if an article have overused pictures, there's this plan to reduce the pictures, or get it to an average pictures. This is the two questions I have. Thank you.
I don't know if Ceslos would like to go first.
Yeah, sure. Musa, thank you so much. In fact, I was already ahead of you in getting our local communities involved. This year, the Wiki Loves Women, She Said campaign is coming up by the last quarter of this year. And of course, you can count on me to loop you in so that the Hausa community, and of course, Isaac, you should also expect an invite from us to the Yoruba community. We want the local language wiki in Nigeria to be as part of it as possible.
Okay, Ceslo, thank you very much. We'll be glad to be part of that and see how we can collaborate on that. So Musa, this is one of the reasons why we do evaluate the campaigns annually, to better understand what didn't work well. Our evaluation reports in 2021 shows clearly that most of the disruptions were from new editors, and we're making that change this year. And what we have decided to do is to limit participation to users who have created an account for at least 1 year and been editing Wikipedia for 1 year, pending when we will devise the right strategies to bring in new editors. But again, it's very quick for people to blame new editors for all of this. We've seen the experienced editors make same mistakes, and that's why I said this is because there's a clear disconnection between Wikipedia Commons and Wikipedia. And thank God this campaign is running, so it will provide a very big opportunity to train people on how to actually use content on Wikipedia articles. There are a lot of issues. Part of them is just basically because people don't even read those rules. Some of people don't read those rules. So I honestly think they are new editors because they don't even know how to navigate or find their ways around the wikis. So that's why we want to limit participation to express editors only for this year, and see how we can improve on it and find a way to incorporate or bring in new editors, just to minimize disruption.
Okay, wonderful. I want to invite us to go on to the next exercise, and Isaac and Sedlas will be with us in the exercise, and we can further hear ideas and interactions. But now we want to focus on your ideas and your projects and hear all of you. So I'm going to share a Jamboard that we're going to be using, and I'm going to quickly explain the exercise, and we're going to go into breakout rooms. So you're just confirm that you're all seeing my screen here.
Yes, Jessica.
Okay. So what we're going to do in this Jamboard is that we're going to, first of all, think about our theory of change in the proposal or in the work that we are thinking about individually. So you've all said that you're thinking of applying for grants or you're already writing proposals. So I'm not going to explain what is the theory of change because I think my colleagues did it so well. But just a quick recap of the questions that we're asking ourselves, and we want you to use these Post-its. For those who haven't used Jamboard before, you just add a sticky note and you can write your ideas. So we first want you to write ideas of why, what is the situation? What is the challenge that you are trying to solve? Why is this important? And then we want you to think about what are the strategies that you are going to implement to resolve this challenge or to create the change that you want to create. Why are you thinking that these are the strategies that are going to work? What are some of your assumptions, as Isaac explained? And what do you hope will come of that? What will be the results? And think about the results, like my colleagues explained, not only in terms of the numbers, but also the impact that we're creating for people's lives. How are we positively impacting those volunteers or positively impacting the movement? So we want you to use the first 5 minutes to reflect on this, add your own ideas for your own work, for your project. And then after those 5 minutes, I will let you know when those 5 minutes are up. You're going to share those ideas with the people in your group, and you're going to reflect on them together. And you might ask each other questions to see if those ideas are clear, if they're coherent, if they make sense, if there are things that are missing, if there are other approaches that maybe you should have. And because many of you are working in similar context, and as Isaac and Sedlas have said over and over again, it's really important to think about collaboration. So after that first exercise, and you've discussed it, we want you to jot down some ideas, put down some ideas of how you can collaborate together, how you can unite efforts, either in implementation or even in thinking of a grant proposal together and not doing a lot of smaller individual projects. Okay, so the team will be in the groups with you. If there's any doubts about the exercise, we will go through it again. We're now going to go into different groups based on some of the work that you've been doing and where you're based. So we have one group, group one, that's going with Veronica, with some of the Nigeria Wikimedian community. Group two in breakout room 2, also some of the Nigerian participants who are going with David and Isaac. And group 3, we're going to have the Levant participants with Dora, and maintaining here in the room. So you won't be going to a breakout room. We'll have a breakout room here in the main room. We're going to have all the rest of the participants. So people from Mali, people from Botswana, from Ghana, and any other community that's here present. We've tried to capture all the names, but if anybody's left out. Okay, so if you can open the breakout rooms, Veronica.
Thanks,
All right.
Jessica. Sorry, I might have missed the first slide. If you could go to the next slide with each group, then we can just do a redo again of who is in what group.
This slide, the first one.
The second one, the third one. The third one.
That's the one.
Number 3. Oh, number 3.
Oh.
There. Okay, sorry. So because of participation, those who indicated they would participate, some and have not been able to participate, the initial format Jessica just described might not happen, so we might have more of mixed groups. So in the first group we will have Abdul, Candy, Mariam, and now Winnie. Welcome, Winnie, and thank you for joining us. And in group 2, we will have Musa, Obi, and Glory, and anyone else. I will move you to the group. And I see a message from, for Iftar. Okay, Nada. Yes, and then anyone who needs translation, I'm not sure if, okay, Nada is stepping out. So I'll open the groups, go to your group, and we will come around and provide the necessary support. Okay, and sorry about the confusion, but I just opened the groups. And confirming here who needs French translation, so we know how many will be in the group.
Sorry, Veronica, I just want to check in with you if the breakout open.
Yes, let me put you in group 2. There you go. It's open now. Cecil's the same. Sorry, Jessica. Isaac. Sorry, you're on mute, Jessica.
All right, sorry, I just wanted to know then we can start with the people who are here.
Let me
group?
check. Let me check the Levant group and see, maybe we'll need to move Sandra because now she's down there.
Okay, yeah, just move Sandra to here. That's fine.
Okay.
And if you can go and join.
Yeah, I came. Yeah, I came. I just came
back.
because
Okay.
Nada.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, because
Okay.
Nada can't come.
Okay, perfect. And if then, Veronica, you want to go and join another room, I can help here.
All right, good. Okay.
Okay, great. All right, so is anybody, Sandra, Miriam, Obi, does anybody need translation, or can we bring in Anas as a participant?
I am happy to have Anas as participant.
Okay.
Also, yeah. Hello, Anas.
Anas, can you come back? Can you join us here?
It's you who assigned me as interpret.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, but because I can do it myself, but now
okay.
I am.
Okay, great. So this is the mixed group. So we're going to be using boards. I'll just share the link directly to the board. Board 9 and 10. So here I'll share the board.
Okay, I can find it.
Okay, so what we're going to do now in the board 9, slide 9, is you're going to just take a few minutes to think, and Anas, you can do this as well. For your work, what is your theory of change? Okay, and after those 5 minutes, we're just going to share. We're a small group, so we'll be able to share quite a lot.
Sure.
Hi, Veronica. Yeah, they're just thinking about the.
Okay, so I'm going to the other group, the last one, just to make sure that they can share the screen. The other group is sharing the screen and working on a shared screen.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can do that here, so we're seeing it. Good idea. Okay, so I think we can go to sharing. The idea is that each one of us presents their theory of change, and we can provide some thoughts on for our colleagues. So I don't know who wants to get us going. Sandra, Ibu, or Anas?
Yeah, I was just writing. I think I'm now on why they will achieve why, but I'm just writing it.
I can
will
start
finish with the last
if you want.
Okay, great. Thanks, Anas.
But I have something very, very simple. So I did it simple. So I wrote that what is the situation? I wrote we have few volunteers in my country. So, okay, in my group, we have few volunteers and we want to have more volunteers. So the strategy that we have here is X. We organize targeted editathons in universities. So we can have a project where we have, I don't know, 100 editathons where we select universities and people go there and try to target students. So what we will achieve, it's only like some kind of metrics. For example, we want to engage 10 long-term contributors. So people who have, I don't know, more than 10 edits per month, and that will remain for at least 1 year. And 2 active user group members, the ones that actually will do offline activities and not only online. So this is the target. And why we chose this strategy to have more volunteers in the country, it's because that we think that students usually like new challenges. They are open and they're eager to learn. So it's easier to target students and work with them and engage them in activities such as the Wikimedia activities. But of course, there is a risk because usually students are not sustainable. So after that they finish their studies, there is a risk that they will quit. But this is maybe another story that needs to be talked about in another forum. But basically, this is the theory of change. We have few volunteers. We create a project where we do a lot of editathons in universities specifically. And because we think that students are a group that engages easily in volunteering.
Thanks, Anas. Any thoughts, Sandra, Dora, or Obi?
Yeah, I can share mine, which is the second one, the second paper. Start.
Maybe first, but maybe before sharing, if you had any thoughts on Anas's proposal, any feedback or questions?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea as the university, as we are or looking forward the high school students, or not high school, the university students, which are the more sustainable. And we are looking for who knows how to do researches, because we miss the research writing in Wikipedia, I think, a little bit. I would like to speak about Arabic Wikipedia, as nowadays they are looking a lot to go for personal writings or like about it themselves. So working with university students is a good issue. I find it a good way to work on.
Okay, any other thoughts, Abel? So, Obi, sorry about that. Obi or Dora. I have a reflection, and this is also based on some work we've been doing with the Ideas Beyond Borders in their project in Iraq, also focused on Arabic Wikimedia and working with students. And we went through a process of really thinking, like, what is the greater impact that we want to have in terms of those student engagement, and what that implies for them, because we're not just kind of involving students because we want them to be volunteers in edit, but what is the motivation for them? Like, what skills are they developing that will help them have opportunities, and it will be an incentive for them. So to also think about that wider impact that we're looking for in skills development, and not just kind of if they're contributing as editors. So maybe that's something, Anas, that you can think about in your strategies. And I can share the theory of change that we developed with the team in that project. And also think, like you mentioned, that students are very, it rotates a lot, right? So you have a big effort to carry out this campaign and then they graduate. So really think about how you're going to create that kind of ongoing university community through maybe structures in the university, through perhaps getting professors involved, and so they can do this in a cyclical process with their students. Or maybe once the students leave university, like what role could they have in the movement as organizers or connected, as I mentioned, to developing skills. So thinking a bit more about that strategy. This is something that is really important when we think of what is our approach to be able to solve these issues, is not just to reduce it to some activities. So an editathon is a way of mobilizing students, but what is our strategy with students? Like, what are the set of methods and processes, and how are they going to be sustainable? Like, what's the model that we're building? So your thoughts have made me connect to that other project that's working on a similar challenge.
Thank you very much, Jessica. It was a virtual project, but still, it's very valuable feedback. I mean, I see the point.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think the project, precisely because it had been the first year, was like very much thinking about the activities and not like how are we creating something more sustainable as a model and impacting the students so that they participate. And most of the participants were female students, and that's really interesting. So how do we engage more women in that role? So the idea of rethinking their theory of change was precisely to take it to another level and not just base it on a number of activities. Sandra, now would you please share your thoughts with us about your ideas?
Okay, thank you. I was also thinking somehow like Wikipedia need pictures, but in fact, I wasn't thinking of need pictures. I was thinking that we have a lot of campaigns on Wikimedia Commons, and we can use, but these pictures aren't used at Wikipedia, so we need to use them. Also the pictures or the multimedia on Wikimedia Commons are normally in one language. It's in English, the description of them. And any other person who wants to read what is written on it, he can't if he don't know English. This is another thought or another problem we have with it. And the third point or third problem I want to mention is that the fresh users or fresh editors on Wikipedia don't know its sister projects, and they don't relate it to each other. Like, it's Wikipedia, just Wikipedia, don't have any sister projects. So those are the main problems where I was thinking of them. And what was I thinking? It was about competition, where they need to use the pictures from Commons and use them in articles on Wikipedia. As I'm working on Arabic Wikipedia, I prefer working with my community, which is somehow easier for me, in fact, and I can help better, I think. So we can make a competition where using these pictures from other campaigns or from Wikimedia Commons campaigns and use them on Arabic Wikipedia articles or articles related to its language. Any communities can use it on its language. It's not related to one community language. Also, one important issue that in competition we can make like a small description how to use Wikimedia Commons, or like having a video shot, or having some description how to use Wikimedia Commons and how to add a picture for an article. And the achievement point where I'm looking forward is to have an Arabic description or description in another language other than English. Also, I have to let people know it's a sister project of Wikipedia. In addition to having more articles, having pictures, where I think that nowadays the vision articles are more how to say, the people like them more, or they are more readable than the others. And for the last question, describe why you think they will work. I think that will work because of all the previous points that the multimedia nowadays is having more and more effective than just reading. So for all that, I think it will be work. And because of having competition, so we can have small prices, they will support a lot of people to participate, and having this competition feeling, or like, oh, I'm winning, or like that. So this is a good issue to think about. So this is a small idea what I was thinking about.
Thank you so much, Sandra. I don't know if any of the
Thank you very much.
That's it. Would like to share, Anas, Dora, Obi, David. Any thoughts around Sarah's proposal? So I was thinking, Sandra, I think it's a really, really interesting proposal, and that would bring a lot of innovation to the contents. And maybe when you're thinking about the results, like take it one step further. So apart from actually having articles with multimedia in different languages, think about also the impact in terms of the people who will read those articles, or the type of contents that they will provide. And it's interesting to measure the impact also in those terms. So maybe thinking about interviewing some of the people who have been able to see and use that multimedia, or some of the editors, and how using multimedia made them more engaged than maybe just any other type of contribution. So to really understand the impact that may have in terms of volunteer engagement, or in terms of readership engagement, or in terms of the filling any gaps that you have in terms of important content in Arabic Wikipedia. So that would be interesting in terms of thinking about results and evaluation. That were my initial thoughts. David or Dora, would you like to share anything? Obi, I see that maybe you haven't been able to use the Jamboard, but if you want to share ideas verbally about your project, that would be great. Or also you can use the chat to do so. Okay, I'm just going to take a minute to send a message to the general group. So we're bringing everybody back. Feel free just to share amongst you whilst I'm doing that, okay? Okay, I've just sent them a message. Some of them are discussing collaboration. And I was wondering, Sandra and Anas, if there's any points of collaboration between your two projects, or whether you're already familiar with each other and working together.
In fact, we are really working together, me and Anas, on the same group.
Yes, we were organizing the competition for Wiki for Human Rights for Arabic language.
Yeah, so we are really
we are
working
having
together.
Okay, well, I'll given that we have a few more minutes in the other groups, I'll invite you to join any of the groups you want to, just to listen to their discussions, whilst we give them a few more minutes, okay? There's only two groups open, it's group 1 or group 2. And we'll see you back here.
Or we can get to introduce David and Dora, because we don't know each other.
Yeah,
Hello,
definitely. David and Dora, please introduce yourselves. I'm just gonna go to the other rooms to see
if
how
you
they're
can, then yeah, if you can.
Yeah, sure. Hi.
Hi, David.
Um,
We are emails friends or emails.
yeah, we are email buddies. We have emailed a lot. Yeah, it's nice to meet you, Sandra, and all. I'm David. I am a junior program officer, as you know, and I've been here for over 2 years working at the foundation. Yeah, and in the past, I worked for Wikimedia Armenia as a program manager. Yeah, and I was an active Wikipedian in the past, so my account is, I think I have over 10 years of experience on Wikipedia. That's all about me and my experience. So what about you?
We've got a good. Oh, about me, I am a part of Wikimedia for the Levant, and as I told before, I was a former board member. I was a secretary of Wikimedia of the Levant. I am on Wikipedia since 2019, so I'm not really that old, just 2 years. But in that 2 years, I did a lot. I found it. I worked with Wikipedia, also with Wikimedia, like using Wiki Commons, Wikimedia Commons, and using Wikidata. And I am now learning a little bit about Wikisource and so on. In addition to attending Wikimania, where I have light talk there, Wikimania 2021. And in short, that's it. Like without my professional life, I am a mechatronics engineer and I'm doing master's degree at Infobionics Engineering. So that is in very, very simple points. And that's it.
Really nice to meet you, Sandra. I remember your first email.
Yeah, in fact, I am really, until now, we are working on it. We have until now more than 800 dictionary. We were just 600 and now we are more than 800. I'm doing it also as for free. Me and Michelle are working together on it. I think I mentioned that. So yeah, I'm working, but I didn't went into the grants point to work on doing it more professionally or having it as I send you on the first email. I didn't start that point yet.
Yeah, but feel free to start it when you have time, because it sounds like an exciting project.
Yeah, I will do so. In fact, after finishing my thesis work or like that, because I have now worked a lot, that's why.
And what about you, Obi? Hi, Jessica, welcome back.
Thank you. So I'm trying to bring them back, but they're deep in discussion. So I'm just going to join the second group and I'll be right back to close the.
Okay.
Did Jessica freeze or she left?
She just left.
She
Okay.
left, we are alone here.
Yeah, she told us she
Ooh.
would bring the other group.
Yeah, but they don't want to come.
Yeah, that's okay. We can chat. Sandra, did you receive the first grant?
In fact,
signed the
today
contract?
I just received the agreement, so I'm going to read it because I was in fact at university. I just want to read it today and sign it. Then I will send it back to you, to the grant community, in fact.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Have you all met? David is the master of proposal writing and review. So he has a tremendous amount of experience and thoughts that he's always providing people.
Well, I would say only reviewing, not writing. I mean, I have experience in writing proposals, but it dates back to 2010 and 15 when I was working at Wikimedia Armenia. Yeah. And I met Sandra, of course, and I know Obi, and I know Anas, and also I met Dora. So.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think I have any apart from. Okay, so introduce myself, Sandra. I am Dora and I am based in Tunisia, which is North Africa. And I'm just chatting on us. He's my neighbor from Morocco. And I'm a junior from Office of Media Foundation. And so like part of the LAC program team. And I might participate in it because I don't have much experience with like wiki dance like that. So that's basically.
Sorry, we came back.
Fantastic. Now we were just doing a small getting to know each other.
Okay.
Because it was a smaller group. So everybody will come back. I've closed the groups. And in 40 seconds, I should be back. Obi, I didn't get to meet you, but it's nice to see you're here. Welcome back, Isaac.
I'm glad to be back, Jessica, and thanks for your support throughout this.
Okay. So I hope that closure of the room wasn't too abrupt. And we're a bit over time, so thank you for staying on these extra 15 minutes. And I think we can just do a quick round of some of the learnings from the group and some of the following steps and how you see yourself collaborating and supporting each other in this proposal writing journey. So maybe somebody in group 1 can kick us off, just sharing.
Okay, I was in group 1, and we discussed about fairly new organized group in Botswana and how we can maybe work out a sort of exchange programs to share expertise between, let's say, the Nigerian community and those of them in Botswana. And we might be leveraging on something like Candy's expertise with Wiki Loves Women initiatives. Why, let's say, somebody from this side of things could maybe find another interesting subject or initiative to share with the new upcoming community in Botswana, all towards, of course, finding mutual interest in the various initiatives. Like, for instance, Musa mentioned that the Hausa Wikimedians are interested in, let's say, the Wikicode thing. Candy was an integral part of the focus group when she was at Speak in Africa. She could, for instance, give them lessons and, of course, key and clues on how to go about that. Why Musa, who I know is a part of our Nigerian Commons Photographers User Group, might be able to share something in terms of how Wikimedia Commons functions, CC licensing, and all that with the upcoming community in Botswana.
That's fantastic. A lot of collaborations, and I hope you also got some input about each other's theories of change and any further developments they can have to answer those key questions in the proposal. That you're going to write. Anybody else in the team would like to share? Candy or Winnie, who joined. Winnie's part of our Let's Connect working group, so she's joined as part of our team as well. Any other learnings from the discussion? Thanks, Winnie.
Oh, go ahead, Winnie. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I didn't hear you quite well. I'm struggling with low connection. I just had Winnie is part of, did you ask a question? Sorry.
No, just for you to share anything that was reflected in the group that you found interesting.
Oh, great. Yeah, so one of the things that actually I love was in the last minutes of the session, and this was on identifying common areas of collaboration. And Cess actually came up with a very creative name. Our team got cut off before I could tell him I love the name, and it was Africa's Exchange Program, where the communities can come together and work on the areas of commonalities that they've identified. So I really love that. Yeah, and also there's something about a newcomers group that he also mentioned is in Ghana, and it was actually quite significant because he referred it to another participant who was also keen to join that group and learn more. Yeah, I love that.
Oh yeah, just to throw more light on what Winnie mentioned lastly, Jessica, we started our Wiki Loves Africa Campus Photo First initiative here, and surprisingly, a media outlet in Ghana reached out to us for partnership. So I had discussed with somebody from Dagbani Media, Sadiq precisely, about possible Dagbani engagement in Wiki Loves Africa come next year. So we are not there yet, but I mean, I can say for sure that I already have a media partner for them, a local media partner, because they have been supportive. I shared their link. They've been posting our Campus Photo Fest Wiki Loves Africa activities, the webinars and all that in their local community, but we are all the way down in Nigeria. So I know it will be much more impactful if they are also collaborating with a Wiki Loves Africa activity locally in Ghana. So to greater things to come.
Candy, you wanted to say something?
No, not much really. I think Seslas and Winnie really wrapped it up quite well. What I just could say is that yes, there's a lot of collaboration, and the efforts would really come into play when we do kind of like peer-to-peer support and mentorship kind of activities. As much as also benchmarking on what other communities do for communities that are pretty much kickstarting or starting to do really large events. So I think benchmarking from what other established Wikimedia communities have already accomplished, it will be a really good start to kind of like gain some traction from there and learn what they do so that we can also implement it on our startup Wikimedia communities in our respective countries. Yep.
Fantastic. Group 2, is there anything that you learned?
Okay, we have a lot. We have a lot. We have 3 major problems. Problem 1, we were thinking of creating awareness for people, because people normally think Wikipedia is meant for a group of people, selected section. So we were thinking of
Obi.
Sorry, yeah.
There seems to be a lot of echo on your end. Maybe because I can see we have two OBs on the call. Maybe you might really reduce the volume of the other one.
Okay.
Yeah. And then maybe we can try and see.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Hello?
Hello, let's try.
Obi. Yeah.
Okay. So that's one of the results. That's one of the problems. So under strategy, it's still echoing, right?
Yes.
Let me off my phone. It's because of network.
Okay.
It's
okay.
turning me off. Let me off.
Thanks. For those of you, because we're over time and some people have to step out, first of all, thank you for staying. We should really program this for 2 hours, but unfortunately it was only programmed for 1.5. But the follow-up is that we will be sending an email so you all get connected and you can start those collaborations and that peer support. And also for any specific support that you need for your proposal writing, Veronica will be also telling you the ways in that we can support you specifically. So thank you for joining, Candy, and anybody who might need to leave. But I'd love to hear Obi.
So, let me
okay.
Obi.
Okay.
Back, yeah.
Okay, I'm back. So under strategy, the Yoruba community, purposely Mr. Isaac now gave us an idea of what they used during their Wiki Love Africa. They put up a central notice on the English Wikimedia page and asked people that can speak Yoruba language to contribute to some of the articles they had there. Under results, within 24 hours, 1,000 people contributed with using the Yoruba language. So it was a good initiative and beautiful for having 1,000 people within 20. They did that kind of follow-up. They shared 1,000 people in 200 batch under like 5 WhatsApp groups so as to train them, mentor them, and they've been contributing since. The second problem, I was currently running a postgraduate studies at one of the Nigerian universities. And during my seminar presentation, I cited Wikipedia. It was turned down. In fact, it was a serious embarrassment for me because the seminar paper was rejected. So I felt so bad. But under strategy, we decided that we were advised that you don't cite Wikipedia because there are a lot of changes or updates that keeps going on from time to time. But we can cite the references that is used in the article that we are trying to work on. Then the result has to be, we have to do a training on reference editing, or what was it called again? I think reference editing, right? Mr. Isaac, help me out.
Technicality of referencing or citation.
Technicality of, yes, technicality of reference editing. Okay. So the third problem has to do with IP blockage. Most of us we've experienced it in the middle of editing or in the middle of training. Your IP will be blocked. Under strategy, it was advised that mostly Nigerians, there was a time our Twitter accounts were blocked and most of us went through VPN. So if you have a VPN notice on your laptop or mobile phone, you should remove it so that the IP address will not affect you again. Then secondly, another suggestion was that admin should ask for exemption so that they can help their members to be exempted from the IP blockage. So that's the angle we are coming from. Thank you.
Let me.
You didn't include. You are missing something. Not be.
Sorry, ma. Mr. Isaac, help me out. Sorry,
So,
ma.
So the scenario that Obi was describing has to do with incessant block of IP, and we made it very clear that this is a global problem. However, for Nigerian editors, most people still have VPN turned on because the government banned Twitter at some point, and some people were able to access Twitter using VPN. So the recommendation is that these small language Wikipedias, Igbo and Hausa, should actually localize IP block exceptions because the function is not already localized yet. So if they localize IP block exemption, they will be able to grant themselves an IP block exemptions locally and also grant new editors who are affected by IP block and exemptions. So that's on that third factor. So I needed to correct something, Madam Hobby. So we didn't display that banner as a result of Wikiloves Africa. No, it's a separate project called Contributes to Wikipedia in Your Language. So we displayed that banner and encouraging readers of the English Wikipedia who speaks Yoruba language to learn how to contribute to Yoruba Wikipedia. And in less than 24 hours, more than 1,000 people registered to edit Wikipedia articles. So we trained them, and we have, many of them are created articles, and we have over 100 articles created already. And a good number of them are already contributing for the past 4 months now. So we're suggesting that this should be a shared ideas, which means the Igbo and Hausa should actually, do similar projects. So they will follow up. They will do a follow up. There will be follow-up conversations around these strategies, and we will report back to Veronica on the progress. So I think Obi is playing the lead role on that. Then we can pick it up from there.
Also, we talked about the follow-up process for the new intakes. Did you forget?
What follow-up?
Yes, all of that will be part of engagement of newly recruit, because when you recruit people and train them, you are expected to follow up with them to see if they actually, implementing what they've learned. And sometimes you are assigning articles, and sometimes you monitor what they've done and try to correct them. And of course, allow them to make mistakes and show them how you fix that problem. Don't just fix that problem. Show them how they can fix it themselves. So that's
not just I have trained you, start editing, start writing, publish. No, that's wrong.
I agree entirely, because that always happens to me. And my mentors, such as David, are very patient. I always make mistakes. So very important, having said that. Okay, and just finally, sorry, anybody else from the group? Okay, just finally, Anas or Sandra, did you want to share just what any learning that you had from that discussion? Any insights?
Yeah, sure. I can try to be brief. I presented a very simple idea that, okay, the problem is that we don't have many volunteers in our country. So the idea is to create a program where we can have different events, editing events, where we introduce Wikipedia and Wikimedia projects to people, and that they should be driven in universities. And then we could have some measures like, yeah, we would like to have 10 people that would join us as regular editors, like having a metric such as more than 10 edits per month for the period of 1 year, and also to try to recruit 2 people for the user group that will do offline activities, maybe arrange events themselves or request for grants, etc. And the reason why we chose students for that proposal was that students are usually open for new challenges, new experiences, and they're happy to work on new things. So it's easier to recruit them compared with other groups. Then when we had the discussion, Jessica explained something that was really important, which is that we should not see it only from our own perspective as organizers and what we will benefit, but we should also see the people that we are targeting. So in this case, the students, and what they will benefit. And this is also part of the project and part of the learnings. So when we write our proposal, we have also to write the students will benefit, for example, from learning about Wikimedia and Wikipedia. And this is very useful for them because they will learn how to use resources wisely, how they can be more critical to misinformation, etc. So this is really an interesting aspect that we didn't think about when we first thought about the idea, even if it's a virtual project, but it's definitely more enriching so that you see not only from your perspective as the person or the group writing the proposal, but also from the perspective of those that you are targeting and why they want to be with you. Why would they be accepting to join you or to volunteer for you? I think that was most of it, but I would like to ask Sandra if Sandra wants to add anything else from her own project.
In fact, my own project was somehow, I think we can mix it with Anas as he was for university students, but we can let them know more about Wikipedia sister projects, and where I was mentioning to using the multimedia on commons campaigns, to use them on Wikipedia articles, especially the articles which don't have multimedia contents with them, and help the fresh users to know more about Wikipedia sister projects or Wikimedia projects. And this is in very simple, sorry, because it's I need to go, that's why I couldn't mention a lot of things. It was nice seeing you all and introducing you to all, and sorry because I need to go now.
Great. Well, that's a great note to end our session. Thank you so much for staying on the extra time, to Isaac and Klaus for that wonderful presentation. It will be recorded and widely shared with the world, and for this great discussion. And we hope to follow up on all these connections. Veronica, do you want to kick us or tell us goodbye and with your great energy spirit?
No, thank you. I just to echo Jessica in saying thank you so much. I think that each discussion was different but very aligned with each other, thinking and I don't have to repeat anything. Isaac, Ancestors, thank you for your wisdom, and for everyone for sharing your wisdom and experience. So thank you so much. We will make a follow-up for this cohort, because this is one cohort, and share the presentations one more time, the Jamboards, if you want to go back and refer to it. There are a few follow-up actions. I think the group for Isaac, there's an action that you all need to meet and start thinking about concrete collaborative work. And anyone else who needs to be connected with anyone in this group, please let me know, and we will facilitate that process. But thank you, Jessica, as always, for the session. I keep learning, and I think we all keep learning. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for this.
Bye. Open your mic. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yes, Alice, I'm sorry. I got there.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Anas.
Thank you.
Bye. See all of
Bye.
you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.